Let's bring in the Admiral, David Robinson, who joins us now. David, 84 draft, best draft ever?
84 was pretty good. It's hard to argue against that one.
So I got Akeem, Barkley, Perkins, Jordan, Stockton.
Wow. That's a few Hall of Famers in that one.
Who's underrated in that group? Akeem, Barkley, Jordan, Stockton?
I don't know that anybody's underrated. They're all on the top 50 team. Really, they were all fantastic. I was a big fan of Stockton. I just thought he was, he was a quiet assassin kind of player, just a fantastic player, and he just went about his work. And a lot like our San Antonio team now. People don't always appreciate the guys that don't bark loudly when they beat you.
Was Stockton dirty to you?
Yeah, he was dirty to me, yes. No, I mean, they were our rivals, so I guess it wouldn't be fair to ask me. I mean, we played them, 6 times a year, and then playoffs, and so we didn't like each other. As teams, we really didn't like each other at the time, and we're great friends now. Karl Malone and John and those guys I see their families and love them now. But when we were playing against each other, it wasn't always friendly.
I'm looking back on the drafts here, David, and I'm wondering, where are all the big men that, with you and Akeem? I mean, we had some great big men, and now, we're hard-pressed to say we got 5 or 6 or 7 great big men. What happened here?
I think it's just a cycle. I think it's like everything else. You have stretches where everybody wants to be, Michael Jordan, and then you'll have stretches where everybody wants to be the next Hakeem or Kareem or something. So I think we're just in a stretch where we have a lot of big guys who are real agile. They like to shoot the ball. I know, my son's like 6'7". I'm trying to teach him how to be a big man, and every time he runs to the 3-point line, I'm like, what are you doing? Why would you do that?
How old's your son?
So, it's funny. It's a lot of fun.
How old's your son?
He's 17. He's going to be a senior this year in high school, and so it's just fun as dad. And I try to tell him things, and like every dad, no son listens to his dad actually. So it's been a fun experience.
Well, how tall were you your senior year in high school?
I was about 6'7" as well. I mean, I was almost the exact same size and weight as he is, and I was a late bloomer. I think he's that way too. He looks like he may grow a little bit, but it's you never know with that kind of stuff. I'm the unusually tall one in my family, and it looks like he might be following in my footsteps.
What is it about the international player, certainly with San Antonio, and the benefits of getting a player from Europe, from another country, who hasn't been, I'm not going to say jaded, but, you have the AAU, you have, these guys, I think we enable them, cater to them, that, Spurs have done well with foreign-born players.
Yeah, you know what? I think a lot of those guys are real skilled. It's such a fresh. There's a kind of a freshness to the international players. They come with a great enthusiasm, and then you see guys like Dirk Nowitzki or Manu Ginobili, and it's the possibilities are pretty exciting, or even Tony Parker. But the possibilities are so exciting. You're mining those fields for the right players, and Popovich and R.C. Buford. This team has really done a phenomenal job spotting those guys. They've come in here, guys like Patty Mills. They have contributed in a great way to our success.
When did you know Duncan was great?
Oh, man, right away. I mean, we played against him when I was with, I think, the 96 Olympic team. We played against the college team, and he played against me and Shaq and Hakeem, and he had an easy 22 and 10. And I thought, wow. I never really watched that kid play, but he's pretty good. And then a few months later, we were able to draft him, and I knew we were in good shape when we drafted him. I worked out with him. I invited him to my place in Colorado. I said, let's go work out during the summer, and he was phenomenal. And I thought, okay, yeah, I can see you're gonna take over. I mean, he could score on the block, both hands. He's one of the best low post players I've ever seen. Which people, I guess, now have learned.
But if you don't hurt your back, How does that change NBA history?
I don't think it does much.
Well, you wouldn't have gotten Popovich, or you wouldn't have got Duncan there.
Oh, well, yeah, you're right. And actually, it wasn't even really my back. It was my foot that year. 6 games into the season, I broke the 5th metatarsal on my foot. They had to, put a screw in it, and I ended up sitting out the whole rest of the game because of that foot. So, yeah, you're right. If that doesn't happen, we certainly don't end up being in the lottery that year.
I thought it was your back for some reason. I didn't remember it was your foot.
Well, I had some ongoing issues with my back there for a little stretch, but that particular season I missed because of my foot.
Oh, okay. Now, you weren't told. Was there at any point were you capable of coming back to play for the Spurs that season?
No. I mean, they had just inserted a 3-inch screw in my foot, so that was a long kind of recovery process.
Well, people say, "Oh, yeah, Spurs tanked," and I thought, well, you know what? We'll have David on. I'll ask him. Do you hear that the Spurs tanked so they could get Tim Duncan?
I don't hear that very much. I mean,
okay.
I really
well, down in San Antonio.
People here kind of knew the seriousness of my injury, but yeah, I guess everybody wants to go back and look back and see history the way they want to see it, I suppose.
You got Duncan with 5 titles. We keep saying that Kobe, LeBron James, everybody's got to get to 6 if you want to be in the conversation with Michael Jordan.
That's just ridiculous. I think that you can put Tim's resume up against any player really in history. There's been some great players. I mean, Bill Russell with 10 titles, and I mean, there's been some great players, but what Tim has done over the length of his career, the sustained excellence that he's managed to have, and just being the leader for a team this long and this successfly, I'd say he's got a good argument against any player you could bring up. Wait,
you could bring up a conversation Jordan against Tim Duncan?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Jordan was spectacular and exciting. Tim is everyday workmanlike, but Tim is every bit the assassin that Michael was.
Okay, you can start your team with Michael or Tim.
I go Tim. The big guys are so much harder to find, and I think they anchor your team so much better. I mean, I think obviously Michael's a phenomenal individual player and a phenomenal, he's a force of nature. But if I'm starting my team, I'm taking Tim.
Did Jordan did he talk crap to you?
He talked to everybody. That was his stick. I mean, I think it motivated him. I think he wanted to have some tension. He didn't. I don't think he liked to be on friendly terms with anybody he was going to play against.
But you're one of the nicest guys in the world.
Hey, plenty of guys have found reason not to like me.
Come on,
that's okay.
David, how did Mike talk trash to you, the Admiral? Did he make fun of you being the Admiral?
Oh, no. The first time I met him, he started right away. I mean, I was so excited to meet him. I was I was a college player playing against, them. I think they were, maybe it was the 84 Olympics or something. I don't know. It was one of those times when he was playing with a USA team and or maybe it was me playing with the USA team as the college. I think it was in 88. And I went up to him after the game. I said, "Oh, Mr. Jordan, it's so nice to meet you." And he said, "Hey, I'm going to dunk on you, big fella. I dunked on all the other big fellas, and you're next." And I was like, I kind of backed up for a second. I said, "Man, if you even come anywhere near the rim, I will take you out of the sky so fast." So it started right away.
And did he dunk on you?
About 6 or 7 years later, but every time we played each other, I could see him when he was trying to drive towards the rim. He'd kind of look at me, and I'd be like, "No, not today."
Oh,
but he did. He got me one time in Chicago, and so he got right in my face and reminded me that it was coming.
But you did block one of his dunks.
Oh, I blocked many of them. People don't care about that stuff. They only care when you get posterized.
Oh, and that's why I always felt bad for Sean Bradley. You can't get posterized unless you challenge a dunk, and Sean would always challenge a dunk.
Oh, he was in the wrong spot many days. I have a few that are well known. I mean, I think in that All-Star game when Shaq dunked on me, that's kind of a well known one.
Yeah.
There's a couple that are well known, but for the most part, I blocked enough where people don't just remember me forgetting.
Good to visit with you again, David. Thank you for your time.
Always fun, Dan. Thanks a
All
lot
right.
for having me.
That's the Admiral, David Robinson.